This week on ANN, an update on the devastating bushfires in Western Australia that directly impacted a local Adventist community.
An Australian Seventh-day Adventist church holds a forum on how the church can support Syrian refugees who are migrating to the South Pacific nation.
And an exclusive interview with the country director of the Adventist Humanitarian Agency in the Central European nation of Slovenia.
These stories and more coming up.
This is ANN, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church.
Thanks so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, last week we reported on the bushfires in Western Australia that affected hundreds of residents. The Esperance fires are reported to have the highest fire danger index score ever recorded in the nation. According to Record magazine, 3 of the 4 people who were killed in the bushfires were employees of an Adventist-owned farm. The workers of the Karanga farm were killed as they attempted to save a horse from the flames. The farm's owner, Linda Campbell, who is a member of the Esperance Adventist Church, expressed her sorrow for the loss of her colleagues. She said, quote, "It's absolutely devastating. I never planned for them to leave. I never thought leaving was an option, but they said they wanted to go," end quote. Local Adventist members have rallied together to help support the affected families of the bushfires. While Campbell is grateful for the support of the Adventist community, she also called attention to other residents who were also affected by the devastating fire. She said on her Facebook page, quote, "Some have lost so much more. Please pray for my fellow farmers as they consider and count their losses," end quote. On a larger scale, the Adventist Development and Relief Agency in South Australia is one of 2 agencies in the region that's supplying fresh food, groceries, and other household items to survivors. In addition to distributing food and supplies, ADRA volunteers have also delivered care packages to approximately 20 families who were affected by the fires.
Also, in the nation of Australia, church members recently held a forum to break prejudices and stereotypes of Syrian refugees and discuss ways to help the refugees as they assimilate in the country. Nearly 120 people met at the Wantirya Seventh-day Adventist Church to discuss how Australians could best support and assist asylum seekers. The forum featured pastors, psychiatrists, and a representative of the local Brigidine Asylum Seekers Project. In September, Australia agreed to host 12,000 refugees who are fleeing from Syria. The first 5 refugees arrived last month. Ruth Bungay, the event organizer, told Record magazine why the event was so significant. She said, quote, "I feel that it's important to have these discussions in our church." She went on to say, quote, "What would Jesus do? He led by example in breaking down barriers. I believe Seventh-day Adventists have an obligation to be visible in this area."
As millions of people from Middle Eastern and North African countries are continuing to flee persecution or seeking to find better living and job opportunities in Europe, the humanitarian arm of the Seventh-day Adventist Church is on the ground throughout the continent, meeting the dire needs of the refugees and migrants. Via video conference, ANN's Milan Medley had a chance to interview Maya Ahas, country director for ADRA Slovenia, to discuss the agency's relief efforts.
Hi, Maya. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about the work that ADRA Slovenia is doing over there on the ground. So about how many can you estimate have you guys offered aid to since you guys began your work on the borders? Can you roughly estimate how many people you've assisted?
It will be close to 100,000 people, 100,000 refugees, because we are, as I said, we are at the entering point, and most of the refugees are entering through that entering point. So we are our daily shifts. We are sharing with Caritas. So half of them is served by Caritas, and half of them are served by ADRA Slovenia.
And how about some of the rising concerns or trends that you and your team are noticing among the refugees? I'm imagining with like you're servicing a whole lot of people, there are a whole lot of people in one space. Are there any conflicts or any like really major needs that need to be met as you service the refugees?
Yes, we need shoes. It's like never-ending story. Just we need thousands and thousands of shoes, mainly for men, because we still have people coming in flip-flops, and we have snow and freezing temperatures outside, and we do need winter jackets. About what other concerns? Personally, I do have a concern because I don't know what will happen in the future. The future is not really good from the political side. So we are concerned about closing of the borders because Europe is not really enthusiastic about having another million of refugees coming and entering Europe. So we are concerned about what will happen the moment the Europe decides to close the borders. We will have dead people. So we are already planning how to assist them, so there will be no people dying, especially babies and small children. Other concerns are when we had a mass of people, because now the weather is not really nice, so we do expect another mass and wave of refugees coming in springtime, and it's going to be a safety question again, because when we had like 10,000 or more people coming in Slovenia, it was really hard because it was hard to control the mass of people, and we had people fainting. We didn't have enough food, for example, how to give to everyone. So we are afraid again of a spring and what will happen, and also we are afraid for people who are not allowed to enter Europe and are staying in those danger zones.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Two volunteers who work with Maya Haas on the Address Slovenia team produced a video that captures the journey refugees take while traveling in search of freedom and greater opportunities. Address Slovenia sent this report.
Coming up, find out how members in Southern Africa showed support for people living with HIV and AIDS during World AIDS Day.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Elena et je suis en train de parler en français. Il y a beaucoup de vidéos très chouettes, mais pas beaucoup sont traduites. Vous pouvez aider.
Join the Amara translation and caption team today. Amara is easy to learn and fun. You can volunteer in your free time. Join this community today and provide great content in your language.
Welcome back. Each year on December 1st, people worldwide unite to show support for people living with HIV and AIDS and to remember those who have died as a result of the disease. Globally, there are approximately 34 million people living with HIV/AIDS. To date, more than 35 million people have died from the disease.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church in South Africa, Indian Ocean region, sent this report about what some of their members are doing to educate communities about HIV and AIDS.
World AIDS Day is a day that was set aside in 1988 to bring awareness to the HIV and AIDS epidemic. It is a time when we can draw attention to it and also show our support for those that are living with the HIV and AIDS. And we show this specifically by wearing a red ribbon, which has become a symbol for the HIV and AIDS. We were able to hand out literature concerning HIV and AIDS as well as red ribbons. And we also gave information as to where people could get tested for HIV and AIDS. The theme for this year is "The time to act is now." You need to do your part to act now. Whether you need to test, you need to act now. Whether you need to share with someone, the time to act is now.
More than 400 people in the Brazilian state of Mato Grosso do Sul received free medical and dental care thanks to an outreach event by Novo Tempo, the official broadcast network of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in South America. The event took place in the city of Amapá, which is 355 kilometers or 220 miles from the state's capital. Novo Tempo leaders wanted to host the event to help meet the needs of residents who have difficulty accessing primary health care services. The clinic offered a wide array of services including medical care, dental care, haircuts, and tutoring for children. Elio Jr., who organized the event, said one of the goals of the free clinic was to provide an opportunity for community members to connect Novo Tempo with the service and compassion of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He said, quote, "The community program shows that the church is attentive to the interests of the community where it operates." He went on to say, quote, "Even the professional volunteers who participated in the program had a chance to learn more about the Bible. The result of the event exceeded our expectations."
As Northern Ireland prepared to welcome Syrian refugees into the country last week, a Seventh-day Adventist pastor wanted to ensure that her congregation at the Adventist Church in the region had proper information to help assist the refugees. Pastor Wires Coetzer was one of the 100 guests who participated in the From Syria to Sanctuary Here event, which gave insight into the resettlement process and shared the needs of the refugees. Coetzer said, quote, "I am happy that I attended. I was able to get deeper insight about the processes involved in the resettling of refugees in Northern Ireland." She went on to say, quote, "I came away with the sense that we do not merely have to be passive spectators in the process. It was emphasized that support and contributions by individuals and groups would be welcomed."
Adventist youth in Rwanda were recently praised by national leaders for helping to build the country through community service. The Honorable Jean-Philbert Segimana, who is nation's Minister of Youth and ICT, or Information and Communication Technology, made his remarks during a Pathfinder Camporee that took place in the nation's capital of Kigali. More than 5,000 youth participated in the Camporee, which was the conclusion of a month-long initiative for Pathfinders to do various community development projects throughout the nation. The activities included supporting the nation's most vulnerable residents and rehabilitating roads. The Minister of Youth and ICT praised the Pathfinders for their service when he said, quote, "The community work is an activity in which Rwandans combine efforts. It is pleasant to see the wide number of youth combining efforts for the progress of the country."
We would like to introduce you, our viewers, to a new communication director from one of the Seventh-day Adventist Church's 13 global regions. Prince Bahati was recently elected to serve as communication director for the Adventist Church in East Central Africa. Bahati has numerous achievements in the industry, including founding and operating what has become the most listened to radio station in Rwanda. The Voice of Hope FM station was instrumental in the evangelism, unity, and reconciliation in a community that was divided by the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. Bahati also holds a master's degree in communication science, a diploma in advanced journalism studies, and a bachelor's degree in journalism and communication. Prince Bahati, we welcome you to our Global Adventist Communication family. May God bless you in this new position.
The Adventist Development and Relief Agency in the city of the Italian island of Sicily recently held a forum to help end violence against women and children. The annual event was organized by ADRA Palermo and was held in the Waldensian Church of the city. The purpose of the meeting was to help form a common front against domestic violence and to spread information about violence prevention. ADRA Palermo also seeks to promote a combined action between associations and institutions to prevent and stop violence against women and children. Coming up, listen to highlights from an Adventist Communication and Technology Conference in Europe.
But up next, see an example of the church's Total Member Involvement Initiative in action.
An hour between eating and sleeping may lower stroke risk. A 1,000-patient study presented at this year's European Society of Cardiology Congress found that waiting 60 to 70 minutes before going to bed after eating reduced the risk of stroke by 66%. And for every 20 minutes more that you wait, stroke risk drops another 10%. That's a fact. But there's hope. Here's a health tip that takes little effort. Wait at least an hour to go to sleep after eating. Not only will you cut your risk of stroke, but previous research has shown that you'll also decrease your risk of acid reflux disease and sleep apnea. So have an earlier dinner and a better night's sleep.
Welcome back. One of the newest initiatives for the Seventh-day Adventist Church for the next 5 years is to encourage all of its nearly 19 million members to be actively involved in spreading the gospel.
In an effort to encourage its members to participate in the total member involvement, the Adventist Church in the Southern Africa Indian Ocean region prepared a report that shows how one member made a major impact in his community. Sid Communication has more.
I was coming from the mall, and as I was going out, I noticed there were two people discussing about Jesus. I asked them if they could allow me to join them, and the pastor, Mate, said, "All right, you're welcome." So I sat there listening to them, and after a few minutes, they asked me if I had something to say. I mentioned something about the Sabbath, and that the commandments. And so they were quite interested. They said, "All right, we would like you to tell us more." So that's why they actually invited us to go there.
So we went to his church on a Sunday in Swaneville, just outside Randfontein Krugersdorp, and they had their service. After that, they gave us a platform to preach. Then I said, since we are already there, we need to introduce the Voice of Prophecy to them. So we told them about the Voice of Prophecy, and they were very excited. So Pastor Marty and his wife, they said, no, we want to do this course and study Voice of Prophecy. So we had 20 invitation cards from the Voice of Prophecy, which we distributed to them, to the church. But they said they prefer that the voice of prophecy be done by the leadership of their church, God's Message, before the ordinary members can do. Pastor Marty, the owner of that church, he invited other pastors from other churches with their elders. And so we had a group of 20 pastors and elders from various independent Pentecostal churches, charismatic churches in that area. So today, which is our graduation day, they are here for their graduation, for their first certificate of Voice of Prophecy.
So you have opened the Bible. You have studied the Word. I plead with you, don't spew it out.
This is the day I will always remember in my life, just because it's my first graduation when it comes to the things of the Lord.
Our secret of success now at the Voice of Prophecy is, if we work through the member, the individual member of the church, we are more effective.
One man talking to one person, and the one person calling other people. Look at Pastor Martin. We spoke to him alone, and he took it upon himself to go and call his colleagues, and he said, we've got a school here.
Attendees and organizers of the recent Global Adventist Internet Network Conference in Europe shared some highlights from the event, which sought to encourage collaboration amongst the church's communications and technology leaders. For this week's Tech Corner, the Inter-European Media Center sent this report, which was filmed entirely on an iPhone.
Global Adventist Internet Network. Okay, are you ready to come? Go together.
The European Media Center Stimme der Hoffnung in Germany hosted this year's GAIN conference of the Inter-European Division. It was filled with interesting keynotes, presentations, a lot of interaction between participants, and more. What's exciting about this year's GAIN conference is that it's not only a meeting of media people, but also includes the departments for church growth. As a group, they're discussing the future media strategy of the Adventist Church in Europe.
So what I really liked about this particular GAIN event, as opposed to all the other ones that I've attended so far, is the whole concept of having a little small group of discussions, and the fact that everyone discusses about one topic at the same time. So I may be a radio person, but I still feel that I have an input into the video aspect of media or the internet aspect of media, and that generates what's called ownership. I feel part of where the church is going to go.
I think networking is one of the most important aspects, also determining strategies, plans, facing challenges together. You feel less lonely, you know, when you are here at GAIN. That's one of the most important aspects to me.
Finding this way to collaborate and to talk, I think, is really important, because you can hear what the other churches that are doing the same things that you are and how they're handling their media and their publishing and their ways of doing things, and it can give you ideas and you can tell them ideas, and I think it only helps to grow the church and work as a team.
Also, what I appreciate is to see what other people produce, and I am so amazed and stunned to see what quality other fields do, like Germany, Austria, Romania. They have huge quality clips or anything. It's really motivating us to learn to do our best to glorify our Lord.
Many ideas, challenges, and visions were discussed, which will ultimately form the European media strategy. However, what does that mean for the church on a local level?
For me,
it is essential that we continue our way, and that we as church members spread the word about this extremely powerful evangelistic tool, the Hope Channel. I want to encourage the local congregations to know and watch our Adventist media productions. They are being recognized by the society and do make a difference in this big world. And if we don't know what's going on in our own media productions, we might not be prepared for people who come to our churches through them. To publish nice pictures, release beautiful books, produce good radio shows is one thing, but that alone is not enough. Being Christians, we would like people to become believers and make a decision, and if possible, find a spiritual home in a local congregation.
Medien können immer nur eine Unterstützung sein, eine Hilfe.
Media can only be a tool to point people towards something, to motivate people. But without personal relations, we're missing the best part, experiencing faith together.
Zusammen Glauben erleben.
And now let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history. This week, learn about the founders of Tokyo Adventist Hospital.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. On November 30, 1904, in Tacoma Park, Maryland, the first classes began at Washington Training College, with 7 faculty teaching 50 students. A year before, the church headquarters had moved to Tacoma Park from Battle Creek, Michigan, and Washington Adventist Sanitarium had been founded. The new training college was dedicated to training church workers who were about to go out as foreign missionaries, and it operated under the aegis of the General Conference. And so in 1904 it changed its name to Washington Foreign Mission Seminary. In 1913, however, it changed its name again to Washington Missionary College, and it switched focus to become a liberal arts college as an institution of the Columbia Union Conference. In 1961, it became Columbia Union College, and in 2009, Washington Adventist University. Today, it has 1,100 students. On December 1st, 1927, Dr. Edward E. Getzlaff, his wife Hattie, and their 4 children landed at Yokohama, Japan, whence they had come from the US to serve as medical missionaries. 18 months later, thanks to Dr. Getzlaff's vision and efforts, a new 20-bed hospital, Tokyo Adventist Hospital, opened in May 1927. The Getzlaffs returned home in 1934, but in 1947, Edward and Hetty Getzlaff returned to Japan to reopen Tokyo Adventist Hospital, which had been forced to close during the war, and they served there 3 more years until 1950. Today, Tokyo Adventist Hospital is a 186-bed hospital treating some 60,000 patients every year. That was This Week in Seventh-day Adventist History.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
In the meantime, join the global conversation on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can connect with Adventists worldwide through the stories, photos, and videos. Visit Facebook/Adventist News, Twitter @Adventist Church, and Instagram @Adventist Church.
Our good news for this week comes from the book of Psalms, chapter 63, verses 3 and 4. The passage says, "Your unfailing love is better than life itself. How I praise you. I will praise you as long as I live, lifting my hands to you in prayer."
Amen. That's our program for this week, and remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.